was at this job interview when I was in college. This guy comes over to me and he says, just wait right here. I'll be with you in a minute. I've got something I've got to get done first. So I waited. I wanted the job. I picked up a magazine and I started to read it. It was an interesting magazine. I finished the magazine and I waited. I picked up another magazine and I started reading it. And I was reading this magazine, and every once in a while I would look up. I would notice it. I would see the guy. Every once in a while he would pop out of his office, go back in. I finished that magazine. About an hour and a half later, the guy comes and he invites me into his office. So I go into the office. He just stared at me. Finally, he said, "Young man, you win by default." I thought, wow, I win by default. He said, "I wasn't going to hire you today, but you kept sitting there, and you waited, and you waited. You kept waiting, and I could tell that you weren't going to leave until I interviewed you." Shoot, you didn't understand. I wasn't going to leave until he hired me. I got hired. He told me I got hired because I was persistent. In the first book of Genesis, verse 32 talks about this man named Jacob. It was in the middle of the night, and this man comes and begins to wrestle with Jacob. And they wrestle all night long. Jacob wouldn't let this man go. The Bible tells us that this man realized that Jacob couldn't be overpowered. And so it says he touched him in the hollow of his leg and knocked his hip out of joint. But Jacob wouldn't let go. The Bible says that Jacob kept wrestling and he wouldn't let go. He kept wrestling. And the Bible says the day was about to break. In other words, it was getting ready to be dawn. And the man said, "You've got to let me go." And Jacob said to him, "I will not let you go until you bless me." The Bible says the man blessed him and changed his name to Israel. And when Israel came walking back to camp, he had a limp because the leg had been out of socket. He wouldn't let go until he was blessed. He actually called the place Peniel, which meant I've wrestled, I've seen the face of God, and he has blessed me. I've seen the face of God and lived to tell the story. And he's blessed me. Have you ever wrestled all night long with God? Have you waited until he blessed you?